Let's begin where most people are afraid to look. Not at success, not at confidence, but at the quiet fear that lives beneath them both. The fear that you are accepted, but not valued, heard, but not truly listened to, present, but never indispensable. Most people don't want to admit this, yet they feel it every day. A subtle awareness that their place in the world depends on how pleasing, agreeable, or useful they remain. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The moment your value depends on approval, you are no longer free. From childhood, you were taught a simple formula. Be kind, be cooperative, be likable, and in return, the world will treat you well. But no one warned you that approval is unstable. It shifts, it disappears, and it is often withdrawn the moment you stop being convenient. Affection feels safe, but it is fragile. It relies on mood, perception, and emotion, all things you cannot control. Respect is different. Respect is not emotional. It is structural. It does not depend on how someone feels about you today, but on what they believe will happen if they cross you tomorrow. And this is where most people misunderstand power. They believe power is about dominance, aggression, or intimidation. They think authority comes from force alone. It doesn't. Real power comes from predictable consequences. People do not behave because they like you. They behave because they understand the cost of disrespect. This is not pessimism. It is psychology. Look closely at how humans actually act, not how they claim to act. Promises are broken when incentives change. Loyalty fades when protection disappears. Values bend when pressure increases. Yet consequences are remembered. A single boundary, enforced once, can shape behavior for years. A single moment of firmness can outweigh a lifetime of kindness. This is why excessive tolerance is dangerous. When you tolerate everything, you teach others that nothing matters. When you forgive endlessly without correction, you erase the meaning of forgiveness itself. Boundaries are not cruelty. They are clarity. And clarity creates stability. The mistake many people make is believing that firmness destroys connection. In reality, it filters it. Those who respect you remain. Those who only benefited from your softness quietly leave. And that loss, though painful, is necessary. Because leadership, whether in a family, a workplace, or a personal life, always creates distance. Not emotional distance, structural distance. The higher the responsibility, the fewer equals you have. The fewer people who can relate to your decisions. The fewer people who can stand beside you without resenting the weight you carry. This loneliness is not a flaw of power. It is its cost. And those who cannot accept that cost spend their lives sabotaging themselves, shrinking their authority to avoid discomfort. They explain too much. They apologize too often. They seek consensus where decisiveness is required. But authority weakens when it asks to be understood instead of accepted. This does not mean becoming cold. It means becoming deliberate. A leader who reacts emotionally becomes predictable. A leader who explains everything invites negotiation where none should exist. Silence, when used correctly, is not avoidance. It is gravity. The most influential individuals are rarely the loudest. They speak less, but when they do, it carries weight. Why? Because people listen differently when words are scarce. Predictability creates familiarity. Familiarity creates comfort, and comfort eventually erodes respect. This is why unpredictability, when controlled, becomes a powerful tool. Not chaos, not inconsistency, but selective firmness. When people never know exactly how far they can push, they stop pushing altogether. Fear in this sense is not terror. It is awareness. Awareness that actions have consequences. Awareness that limits exist. Awareness that crossing a line changes the relationship permanently. This type of fear does not generate hatred. It generates caution. and caution preserves order. Many people confuse kindness with weakness because they have never seen kindness backed by strength. True kindness is not indulgence. It is generosity with standards. It gives, but it remembers. It forgives, but it adjusts. It helps, but it does not forget who took advantage. Unlimited generosity creates entitlement. Measured generosity creates loyalty. This is another uncomfortable reality. People respect what they fear losing. They do not protect what feels guaranteed. And this applies not only to leadership, but to relationships, influence, and personal boundaries. When you are always available, you are easily replaced. When you are always understanding, you are often ignored. When you are endlessly flexible, you become invisible. Strength does not require aggression. It requires finality. A clear no. A consequence that is enforced once and remembered forever. Most conflicts do not escalate because of cruelty. They escalate because of hesitation. Uncertainty invites challenge. Decisiveness ends it. This is why doubt is more dangerous than firmness. People forgive strictness faster than indecision. Now let's go one level deeper. Because here is where self-deception lives. Ask yourself this question, honestly and without excuses. Do you want authority, or do you want reassurance? Because these two desires cannot coexist for long. Reassurance seeks comfort. Authority creates tension. Reassurance wants to be told everything will be fine. Authority understands that nothing stays fine without effort. This is why many people unconsciously sabotage their influence. They retreat when leadership demands emotional sacrifice. They soften their stance when resistance appears. They explain, justify, and negotiate, not because it's wise, but because it feels safer. But safety is deceptive. When people sense that your resolve depends on harmony, they test you. When they sense that your confidence depends on agreement, they manipulate you. When they sense that you fear disapproval more than disorder, they quietly take control. Authority is not declared. It is revealed under pressure. Anyone can appear strong when things are calm. Anyone can sound confident when nothing is at stake. But the moment resistance appears, silence watches. People observe how you respond. They remember it. One poorly handled moment can undo years of credibility. One decisive action can restore it instantly. This is why restraint matters. True strength is not constant force. It is controlled access. You do not show everything you can do. You show just enough to make the rest unnecessary. A leader who displays full power too often becomes predictable. A leader who never displays it becomes irrelevant. The art lies in timing. This applies not only to authority over others, but mastery over yourself. Your emotions must never lead your decisions. They can inform them, but never command them. Anger clouds judgment. Fear shortens perspective. Ego demands immediate gratification. Discipline delays reaction. And discipline is what separates influence from impulse. There will be moments when silence feels unbearable. Moments when responding feels necessary. Moments when defending yourself feels justified. And yet, the strongest response is often absence. Absence of reaction. Absence of explanation. Absence of emotional leakage. People fill silence with meaning. They project significance onto restraint. They interpret calm as control. And control, whether real or perceived, stabilizes power. This is why the most effective leaders rarely chase respect. They create environments where respect becomes the only rational response. They do not beg to be understood. They do not argue for legitimacy. They do not explain their authority into existence. They act consistently, strategically, and without hesitation. And slowly, something shifts. People stop questioning. They start adjusting. Not because they agree with every decision, but because they trust the structure behind them. that trust is not emotional, it is functional. It comes from knowing chaos will not be tolerated, that boundaries will be enforced, that leadership does not dissolve under pressure. And once that belief takes hold, authority becomes self-sustaining. Now understand this. Power is not owned, it is borrowed. It exists only as long as others believe it exists. Authority is a shared agreement, reinforced by behavior, expectation, and consequence. The moment that agreement dissolves, power evaporates. This is why vigilance never ends. Not paranoia, awareness. The most effective leaders never assume their position is permanent. They act as if it must be maintained every day, because it must. Comfort is the enemy of authority. The moment you believe you are untouchable, decay begins. This is also why true leaders rarely feel safe. They understand stability is temporary. Influence must be renewed. Respect must be maintained through alignment between words and action, not promises, not speeches, action. There is a myth that power corrupts. This is incomplete. Power does not corrupt, it reveals. It exposes impatience, insecurity, restraint, or wisdom. Those who crave validation use power to seek admiration. Those who understand responsibility use power to create structure. One seeks love, the other earns respect. And here is the final distinction. A tyrant believes power is absolute. A leader understands power is fragile. The tyrant relies on force and becomes hated. The leader balances authority with restraint and becomes indispensable. Hatred unites enemies. Respect divides them. When people fear you irrationally, they plot. When they respect you rationally, they comply. This balance is subtle, and mastering it requires emotional discipline. You must be willing to disappoint. You must be willing to be misunderstood. You must be willing to stand alone when decisions are unpopular. And you must release the need to be liked. Because leadership is not a popularity contest. It is a responsibility, and responsibility is heavy. The final question is not whether you want power. It is whether you are willing to live with its consequences. Because power brings vigilance, isolation, constant evaluation. It demands that you act strategically even when emotions pull you elsewhere. It demands that you think long-term, while others think moment to moment. It demands that you accept discomfort as the price of influence. Most people do not fail because they are weak. They fail because they seek comfort where strength is required. But if you can tolerate uncertainty, if you can endure solitude, if you can act decisively without seeking applause, then something changes. Your presence becomes grounding. Your words gain weight. Your silence speaks louder than explanations. And people begin to adjust themselves around you, not because they fear you as a threat, but because they respect you as a force. That is real authority, invisible, controlled, and enduring.